Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to make a vegan dish, a chickpea curry, which I made using cashew nuts to make it thick and saucy. And let me tell you, you're gonna enjoy this. I posted it, I think, a week ago on Instagram, and all of you are craving for the recipe. So here we go. This is what you'll need. A diced onion, 1 or 2 is good enough. Some tomatoes, about 2 tomatoes, diced up, some salt to season everything, some cooking oil, some dhania leaves for garnishing or parsley if that's what you prefer, some cashew nuts, and of course the star of the show, chickpeas pre-boiled. We are starting off by preheating our stainless steel pot. We want to achieve a non-stick base as we cook so that nothing sticks onto the pan. Once it is hot, the test is always drop a drop of water. Once you see it beading up, that's an indication that the surface is already non-stick and you can go ahead and add your oil. So we added in our cooking oil. About 2 tablespoons is sufficient. Then in goes our onions. Give them a stir so that they are well mixed up with the oil for even cooking. You want those onions turning translucent before we add in the cashew nuts. This takes a few minutes. Once you see they are turning a bit translucent, not browning like so, it is time for us to add in our cashew nuts. Remember, we are using raw cashew nuts, raw and salted. So in goes our cashew nuts. We stir them together to allow them also incorporate together with the onions and the oil. Then you give them a few minutes. You keep stirring every now and then or occasionally so that we have those cashew nuts turning golden brown, as well as our onions. Once you have them looking like so, it's time for the next step. This is very critical that you get them to this point because it builds up that flavor. It makes those cashew nuts release their oils and they become very, very delicious in the sauce. Then in goes our tomatoes, just purely diced tomatoes. You don't have to puree them at this point because you're gonna puree them as you make the sauce. So you mix everything together to be well combined. Then you cover the pot because you want those tomatoes cooking, because you don't want raw tasting tomatoes in your sauce. If you followed me for some time now, I believe you have seen me using this method, cooking some pasta and veggies using the cashew cream, and it's normally so delicious. The difference here is that I'm adding in the tomatoes, pretty much the same. So once they are cooked perfectly, of course you'll stir them together. Then in goes our water. We're using plain water. You can use beef stock, that's what you prefer, or vegetable stock, but I'm using water. Adding exactly 2 cups of water. Then stirred everything to combine, covered to let it simmer. Once it simmers, then on to our next step. At this point, it had already simmered, and here, if you have an immersion blender, this is where you blend in to make that creamy sauce. But since I don't have an immersion blender, I'll use my high-speed blender. So I added in all those cooked tomatoes, cashews, and onions together with the water to make it so creamy. I love that it only takes 30 seconds to make a sauce using my blender, and after 30 seconds we were done and ready for the next step. The next step is basically adding the sauce back into the pan so that you heat it up and adding the chickpeas. To make sure that I get everything from the blender jug, I did add a little bit of water, swirled it so that I can have all that sauce into the pot and use it for making the chickpeas. In goes our chickpeas. Remember we had pre-boiled them. Normally what I do with dried chickpeas, I'll soak them overnight, drain off that water, rinse them, then pressure cook on my instant pot for about 25 minutes on high. They come out so soft, but not to an extent that they are mushy. Just the right texture that you would require, so that when you're making them into a curry or a stew, they still stand firm. Just like the same way black beans would do, and the same texture black beans have when they're already cooked. Then I added in another cup of water. It was not necessary, but I did add. Basically, I added 4 cups of water in this recipe, but you can add at least 3 cups. It is sufficient. Stirred everything together to combine and covered the pot so that it can simmer for about 4 to 6 minutes, so that everything can meld in together and become so delicious. After that, I remembered I needed to season with salt. That's the only seasoning I added here. Remember, if in case you'd like some other flavor to your dish or any other spice, feel free to do so, and especially at the point you're adding in your tomatoes, that's a very good point to add in other spices that you'd like to have in this dish. Once it had simmered, I opened the pot, stirred everything together, and the final touch was adding in the dania leaves, that is garnishing basically. And you can garnish with either dania or even parsley, depending on the herb you have on hand or the one you prefer the flavor of. I had dania and that's what I used. And by the time I was adding in the dania, of course, I switched off the fire and the dish was ready to be eaten. It was smelling so delicious in my kitchen. And you can actually eat these beans for any meal. You can swap it with your baked beans in the morning, use it with your rice, your mashed potatoes, your chapatis, whatever you prefer. This dish comes out so perfectly. You can actually see how saucy it turned out to be. If you need to use less water, as I said previously, feel free to reduce that 1 cup and it will be so saucy and delicious. It was time to serve. And as usual, I served it in a balanced way. I used some rice on the side, brown rice to be specific, and also some spinach to make it a complete meal. If you'd like a detailed recipe of each and every ingredient and its measurements, feel free to check the description box down below. I have a link to my website of the complete recipe. And here we have it. So let's give it a taste as usual. It's so creamy, it's sweet, it's savory at the same time. And let me tell you, the flavors meld in so nicely. The fact that you fry the tomatoes with the cashew nuts and the onions, then you make it into a sauce, amazing. You should give it a try. I served it the way you can see, with some spinach and some brown rice, because I wanted a hearty vegan meal. And let me tell you, this is so amazing. I think you can try it with black beans or a hardy bean, the same method. You try it out and let me know how it turns out. I'll definitely try it as well and share the results. But in the meantime, if you find this video helpful, please click that like button, subscribe, comment, share with your loved ones so that they can try a nice vegan meal, or a meal that can make you actually put meat aside. And with that said, happy cooking!